gratitude that the way that I express the forest through my art resonates with people who come to visit the Northwest and they take my art back to their home country or their home state. And again, it's not sophisticated by any means, but it's a style. So I'm showing you a style and you'll have your own style. And we don't compare. Comparison is a thief of joy. We do not compare. Instead, pay attention to your style and enjoy being a witness and being witnessed by people around you wherever we each are. You don't know the person next to you. They might have been making trees every day for the last 30 years and you haven't made a tree since you were in third grade. So, right? Yep. So just, we don't compare, we don't know. I made a lot of trees in my life, a lot. And, but your tree will be different than mine. And so, right now I want you to be impressed. I'm going to draw upside down for you. So an easy tree is, think of shapes. And so does that look like an A? And if you want to get closer, you can. A really fun way to make it sketchy is to go over your line more than once. You're adding more energy, you're adding more depth, more texture. And let me see how I can figure out. There we go. I had to figure out my next line. I'm not trying to connect it because for sketching, watercolor sketching, the lines are going to be a guide. I'm not trying to make some awesome painting. I'm just creating kind of a map, and loosely, because it is the paint that's going to bring it to life, right? And so don't worry if you're like, oh man, I can't draw. Well, just, put down some lines best you can. I guess there's a trunk in there somewhere. And then maybe my next tree is shorter. And I'm scribble, 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 scribble. And that one has a different base. And then maybe over here I want to do a different kind of tree altogether. I'm going to do a line, kind of go across. And basically, if you look at the shape of what I'm doing, that's a line, for those who can see, and X's, almost like a corset. And then my corset's getting bigger. Who owns a corset? I just realized that. Of course you do. Of course you do. Of course you do.
I was a costumer for years. Of course I do.
Yeah. You and I, girl, I just made all these costumes for Wasteland.
Oh.
So, and I got that tree there, so I just kind of come down with my corset. And again, that's effective. But if we analyze right now, these are lines, these are scribbles, they're not sophisticated, but there's a scene coming together, and it's when I add the paint. This is really, really going to come to life. And so...
Okay, you have to back up a minute.
Yes.
You made costumes for Graceland?
Oh.
Or is it Elvis Presley's house?
Wasteland.
I love that you heard it like that. I'm going to quote you. I'm going to a festival in the Mojave Desert that's fashioned after the Mad Max film series of post-apocalyptic dystopian living. So we create costumes that are wasteland costumes. You follow me on socials, and in the wasteland I'm known as Vixie, which is short for Vixen. I'm known as Vixie. It was my first year there last year, and there's all these badass people with their badass costumes, and everyone has like this badass Mad Max persona. But at the end of the day, I'm still an artist, and I don't feel comfortable threatening to hurt you, even in the immersive play. And I was at this event, and there's all these things that happen at this big, thousands of people event outdoors in the Mojave Desert. And I met someone, and she's been at Wasteland for 8 years, and she's kind of she's kind of a thing there. And she asked me, what's your name? And I said, my name is Vixen. And she goes, oh no, my name is Vixen. We cannot have two Vixens. And I'm just staring at her, and very quickly, without thinking, out of my mouth came, oh, but I am a Vixen. it's not my wasteland name, I am a vixen. And so we stare each other down, and I'm thinking, how do I resolve this? She's got street cred, she's got seniority, really feel like I'm gonna be vixen, and then I quickly, my brain just went, one of the guys calls me Vixie. I can go by Vixie. And she was like, that's cool, people call me Vix. We have since become friends. Her name is Laurel. She lives in Southern California, and she is a grandmother, as am I. I am Lolo to my grandson. She is Graham Lowe to hers. And I'll see her next week, and I'm taking her a present of wasted bloomers.
Awesome.
And you'll see a picture of her with me. Okay, I digress. I'm waking up my paint palette, so getting right in there. And I'm just going to stick with this palette for right now. I might come in and layer more with my personal one. Good chance I will. But I can start with any color I want. And a rule of thumb, and by the way, I'm going to tell you right now, whenever you hear a rule or a rule of thumb, pay attention. Pay attention to the rule, follow the rule, and then at your soonest convenience, break the rule. And notice what happens when you break the rule, because you might like the outcome. The reason the rule exists in art making processes is because it has an outcome that many people have deemed undesirable. Therefore, you never do dark color before light color, ever. As soon as you hear that rule, respect it, then turn right around and break it and see what happens. You might like the outcome, and that's how you're going to discover what resonates with you. And that's the creative rebellion that you can lean into. Hear the rule, break it. So the rule of thumb, which I hope you'll listen to and then break, is to start with light color. First of all, I'm holding my brush. I'm not holding it like a pen. If you've not painted, listen to this very carefully. We're not writing. So when we hold something like a writing device, it's very natural, our muscle memory, we're gonna write. We're not writing. So scooch up and you loosen your wrist. And you also break that muscle memory. You're not going to lean into writing muscle memory. This is new memory you're making. Lots of water on the brush. Lots of paint on the brush. And I'm dragging it. I'm dragging it. I'm dragging it. There's lots of water. Because I'm holding this up, I also have gravity helping me. If you want gravity to help you, instead of painting flat, hold your paper up a little bit. You'll get a little bit of that gravity. I'm getting a lot of gravity. Also notice I drag, and I'm not treating this like a coloring book. Am I trying to stay in the lines? The lines are, what is that line from Pirates of the Caribbean about the code? It's just a guideline.
Yeah, they're guidelines.
They're guidelines. And so I'm just kind of letting that paint get down there, and I'm a fast painter, especially when I'm demoing, so I'm going to move pretty fast right now. Notice I'm making sure I have lots of water. This is going down, going down.
Is that just yellow?
It's just yellow, but see how
I like
smoky?
this. Yeah.
But now, while it's wet, and this style of painting is called wet on dry, because the paper's dry. And the way watercolor adheres is different. Which I'll do right now. So now this is very wet. So now I'm going to do wet on wet painting. Let's grab some green while that's nice and soggy. And watch
What
it
color
does.
did you start with? Was it
I
brown?
started off with, just with yellow. And then the green, notice how it's helping me quite a bit. And now I'm being strategic. Maybe I'll just kind of put some green here, kind of drag it, guide it a little bit. I can get more water. Let water help me kind of guide the flow a little bit. Maybe I want a little bit more right here, a little bit more there. And so as I keep building on this, so maybe the next tree, instead of starting with yellow, I'm going to start with green. And maybe I don't even go all the way down for now. So, you have a nice drip there. I'm going to give it a little push. Maybe a little bit more push. Ooh, there we go. See how I did that? Just gave it a little push of water. Water, nice big drip. There you go. Drip down. If I don't like all the drips on the bottom, this is where you grab your paper towel. And if I don't like all those drips, I can just kind of pick them up, pick it up. If there's something I'm not really caring for, or if I don't want to lighten something up, I could press down and it'll lift the color, which can create really cool gradients. Also, when I lift, I can let that dry and then come back in and add more color, add a different color. Things are pretty wet still, but for example, as this dries, what if I want just a touch of orange for just a fun little surprise? Little splatter. That's very artsy, isn't it? It's not representational, it's loose, it's expressive. The little splash of orange now dripping down. It wouldn't drip as much if I kept it flat, but you know, you guys, I want you to see it. And that's all very effective. And I can just keep playing with this and layering, intermingling, commingling my colors. This is a very simple scene of 3 trees. That'll keep me busy for a little while. And then I could think about, you know, the background. Do I want to do a blue sky? Maybe I do. But, you know, how much sky do I want? Do I want to do clouds? I'm being very messy on purpose. When you have a healthy detachment from what you're making, it allows your curiosity to be indulged. Because then you're not holding it like, I don't want to mess it up, I don't want to mess it up. When we stay in the, I don't want to mess it up, we tighten up and we narrow down. All these infinite possibilities just faded away because I might mess it up. But when you live instead of, let's see what happens, but I might mess it up. It's just paint. That's all it is, man. It's just paint. I got more paper, I got more paint. It's okay. This is not life, this is not limb. It's okay if you worked on it for 4 hours or 4 days or 4 months and you messed it up, that's your process of discovery. Welcome to being a creative. You will make messes. You will spend time making paintings that are so-called failures. But when you transform that inner critic, that's not failure, that's process, that's learning, that's growing, that's developing. Every single painting you make, no matter the outcome of the painting, you just grew. You just put some miles on the brush. Athletes train, musicians rehearse, artists make art, and you will make a lot of shitty art. Have fun with it. Have fun with it, all right? So I got that going on. You know, maybe I need some help with that. Ooh, there we go. Oh, heck yeah. Woo! That sky just got more interesting, didn't it? So, make a mess. I recommend starting off with your student palette, and then I'll call out as we get into it more to bring in the pro palette that I put on each table. But I do recommend start with this as your basic. Dark, light, and then dark is the rule of thumb. So I started with lights. I may add some darks on top of this. But I also might start with darks over here and then add some lights. Does that make sense? All right. Any questions? Observations? Concerns?
Gonna make a lot of shitty art.
Does anybody know Anne Lamont and her
Yes.
beautiful book, Bird by Bird? She has a book, a memoir on writing. Anne Lamont's a successful writer in the United States, and she has a book on writing called Bird by Bird. Her most famous chapter, most quoted chapter in that book is called Shitty First Drafts. So a lot of art is first draft art. How do we learn? Just by doing it. And occasionally you'll hit it right quick, but the more you paint, the more you'll hit it. Just like musicians, you know. Listen to a musician year 1, come back in 10 years. See what they're doing now. Prodigies exist, but they're the exception. They are the exception. The rest of us got to practice a lot. So, and even prodigies practice, don't they? All right, if you need help with anything and you just want me to come over and help you, invite me, wave me down. I'm happy to come over and help you. Oh, the birds are getting excited.
Sounds great.
Yeah.